Welcome to class. Today we're going to be discussing an introduction to instructional design. As many of you are already teachers and are familiar with the 9 events of instruction by Gaines, which goes over the first event being gain attention. You want to inform learners of objectives. 3, you want to stimulate recall of prior knowledge. 4, present the content. 5, provide learning guidance, elicit performance, provide feedback, assess performance, and enhance retention and transfer. Many of us do this every single day in our classrooms as we deliver lessons to our students. So we are familiar with this process. However, many of us are not familiar with instructional design, designing a course from beginning to the end. Now, this lesson will not go in depth in each of the steps. So what we're going to do today is we're going to get an overview of the design process so that we can see the bigger picture. And as the course progresses, we are going to take each step in bits and pieces so we can really understand the whole concept of instructional design. So today we're going to be discussing how instruction is designed. And these are the main goals of today's class. The main objectives for today are to define instructional design. Many people have different definitions, so we're going to define what it is. And you should be able to understand that. Second, you're going to evaluate different instructional design models by creating a chart of their similarities. Third, you're going to describe the core elements found in the instructional design process. So these are the things that we want to accomplish during today's lesson. Instructional design has several different meanings, but these 2 definitions stuck out to me the most. The first is a branch of knowledge concerned with research and theory about learning and teaching strategies, particularly in an e-learning environment. So instructional design wants to understand research and the theory and how can we bring the best strategies to learning and teaching in this web-based environment. And the second definition is a system of procedures for developing course content that is reliable. When we say reliable, it gets results each time we use it. So we're going to develop a system of procedures or steps so that we have content that is reliable and meets our instructional goals. 2 of the models that we are going to consider today, and again, there are many models available. The first one is the systems approach model. This was developed by Dick Carey and Carey, and the purpose basically of this model is for the design and development, implementation, and evaluation of instruction. It uses several steps of which basically they receive input from the preceding step, and then it will provide output for the next steps. All of the components of this system work together in order for the user to produce effective instruction. And the system includes an evaluation component that will help determine if anything went wrong and basically how to improve it. Now, this model, again, is a systems approach model, but again, it does not emphasize that there's only one single system. There are many models of instructional design, but for today's lesson, we're just going to take a look at 2 of these models and see how they relate to the overall perspective of instructional design. And the Assist Me model basically is, again, it's an instructional design approach for web-based instruction that may be used by teaching faculty to design instruction for online courses, or professional instructional designers and faculty who teach instructional design courses. Now, this particular model was based on the Delphi research study, Investigations of an Instructional Design Model for Web-Based Instruction. Sorry about that. And it offers an instructional design procedure intended specifically for the unique nature of online courses. And these design procedures are combined from a panel of professional instructional designers, and they synthesize their strategies into a model that contains the essential steps to be included in the design process. Now, the Assist Me model also came about due to controversy over whether the 9 events of instructions were enough for online instruction, because the 9 events of instructions were intentionally designed for traditional classrooms, and a lot of instructional designers felt like that did not fit their specific purpose of e-learning. And so therefore, through their research of Sun and Lee in 2001 and later in 2003, they did a study, and they saw that there was a need for an instructional design model specifically dedicated to design for web-based instruction. So these are the 2 models we'll be considering, and this is how they came about. So the first model we have here, the systems approach model, which is going to take a quick look at the actual model laid out, and you can take a look at it yourself, and you'll notice some of the components. Assess needs to identify instructional goals, write performance objectives, analyze learners and context, develop the test, develop instructional strategy, develop instructional material, formative evaluation, summative evaluation, and we revise the instruction continually to make changes as we need to. Now we're going to break down each one of those steps in the next slide. The systems approach model. Okay, so we have identify instructional goals. This basically means is, what is it that you want learners to be able to do when they have completed your instruction? There needs to be some set goal that they are able to achieve at the end of the instruction. Second, you want to conduct instructional analysis. This basically will help you determine what people are doing when they perform that goal. What exactly are they doing? And you'll be able to write those behaviors. The third one is analyze the learners in the context. Basically, you need to know what they will learn, and also is basically the skills they're going to learn, the context. But then you need to know about the learner themselves. What are their fears? What are their motivation? What are their values? These are critical components in helping you design your instruction. Fourth, you want to write performance objectives. You will write specific statements of what the learner will be able to do when they complete the instruction. Plain and simple, it's about performance. What will they be able to perform? What will their behavior be at the end of the instruction? Number 5 is develop assessment instruments. And this is basically, you're going to have to develop assessments that are parallel to and measure the learner's ability to perform what you described in the objectives. So you're going to have to come up with assessments that are parallel with your performance objectives. Number 6, you're going to develop instructional strategy. And basically, you're going to identify the strategy that you will use in your instruction to achieve the terminal objective. What are the strategies? And the strategy will emphasize components to basically foster student learning. And this could include pre-instructional activities, the presentation of the content, learner participation, assessment, and follow-through activities. Number 7, develop and select instructional material. In this step, you are going to produce the instruction. This basically means you're going to include guidance for the learners, instructional materials, and assessments again. And you want to develop original material. It's going to depend on the type of learning outcomes you are trying to get from the instruction. Number 8, design and conduct formative evaluation of instruction. So after you've done all of that work, because you've done a lot of work, you've identified goals, you made an analysis of the learners, the context, the problem you're going to solve, you wrote these performance goals, you've developed assessments, you have a strategy for delivering the content and guiding your learner through the process, you've created or selected materials for them. Now you need to evaluate it. You need to determine, do I need to redo something? Did anything go wrong? Was everything flowing properly? Did the learners actually meet your instructional goal? So this is going to come back when you design and conduct your evaluation of instruction. 9, we want to revise instruction. This automatically leads to revision of instruction because this process is repeated. You're constantly getting data from the formative evaluation, and you summarize and interpret it to identify any difficulties your learners may have experienced through the process. And last but not least, you design and conduct a summative evaluation. And this is basically an evaluation of the effectiveness of the overall instruction. I know this is part of the design process, but again, it is a very important critical component because you need to know, did I do what I said I was going to do? And was the overall instruction effective? Then you have the Assist Me model. Again, this particular model came from a panel of professional instructional designers who wanted to design something specifically for web-based instruction. And their steps are pretty self-explanatory. They wanted you to analyze instruction, setting, and students. Again, you're doing a background check. You're finding out the student's motivation. What is the setting of the instruction? What is the purpose? What is the need that's being fulfilled? Second is, again, you're stating your performance objectives. What do you want the behavior to be after they go through your instruction? Third, you're going to select the material. You're going to organize your content and media. You're going to deliver your lectures. You're going to deliver the information to them and select the materials or resources that they will need. Then you're going to implement it. Now we've designed it. We've come up with these objectives. Now we're going to implement the instruction. Fifth, you're going to solicit student response to instruction. What is the feedback? Again, this is dealing with feedback, giving them feedback, letting them respond to it. Are they learning in the process? And that goes with number 6, with test, evaluate, and revise the instruction. And lastly is the maintenance of an online course. Technology changes, platforms changes, people's device changes. How are you meeting those needs for your new learners if this course is being offered in a business setting or in a collegiate setting? So these are the 7 steps in the Assist Me model, and it's called Assist Me because of A is for analyze, S is for state, S is for select, I is for implement, S is for select, T is for test, and me is for maintenance. So we've talked about 2 models that are used in instructional design. Now I'm going to focus on 5 core elements, and they call this ADDIE. Again, it's another acronym. We like to use acronyms in instructional design. It keeps us on our P's and Q's. So these 5 core elements are the basics of any design that is put on the market. And the first one is analysis. It refers to a needs assessment. That is what the students need to learn or do as a result of the instruction. And as we looked at the other 2 models, can you picture some of the steps possibly falling under this particular core element? I hope you do. Second is design. In the design, you are going to write the knowledge objectives that may be evaluated in some measurable form, as well as create the instruction and select the media. So you're writing the objectives, you're determining how you're going to measure them, you're creating the instruction, and you're selecting the media. And this can include exercises and assignments that will accomplish that particular objective or objectives. Number 3 is the development stage. In this stage, the instructor and the student materials are prepared, which have been determined by the design requirements. So we've designed it. Now we have to develop them. So the same way with an architect who wants to build a hospital. They draw it, they design it, they put in what are all of the facilities, all of the requirements, how much money do we need, what need will it fill in the community, and then they develop it. They hire the contractors, they bring them, they break ground, they build the concrete, and now we're starting to see it developed. The 4th is the implementation stage, which can also be called the teaching stage. It is the actual delivery of the instruction to the student using a channel that has been determined appropriate for the design. And finally, but definitely not least, is number 5, is the evaluation of the instruction, both formative, that is during the instruction, and summative, which means at the end of the instruction. Again, and you do this to determine if it is effective. An evaluation of instruction is continuous in the model, and it is considered the core of instructional design. So this is another model, and if you notice, the revision constantly goes around and around. We start off with analyze, we design, we develop, we implement, we evaluate. And we're constantly making revisions to this until we know that it is the most effective model. Another way of looking at it is instructional design can be put into 3 phases. You have your planning phase, your activity phase, and your review and quality check. So what are some things you think would go in the planning phase? What about the activity phase? The review and quality check phase? This will be part of your discussion where you're going to put in the steps you believe would fall under each of these phases. Well, that concludes our lesson for today, and I hope you were able to see a broad perspective of instructional design. We were able to look at 2 models. The first one is the system approach model and the assist me model. One was created with a focus on traditional classrooms, while the other one was created specifically by professional instructional designers for e-learning. And lastly, we looked at 5 core elements. What are the 5 main elements in which all instructional steps fall under? And that is, again, the design, analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. The 5 core elements of any instructional design model. So your assignment is you will need to access the journal article. Under the Blackboard assignment link, I have attached a journal article that talks about another instructional design model. You will review that instructional design model and then prepare a chart that labels each of the 3 model steps into one of the 5 core elements of instructional design. I have also included a sample for you so you know exactly how to put it together. And lastly, you will also need to post a response to the discussion board topic and make an original response to one of your peers' posting. And that topic deals with how would you place each of the steps under the 3 main phases if you were designing your own instruction. We thank you so much for tuning in to our intro to instructional design. And I look forward to reading your responses. Have a great day. These are some references if you would like to do more research in instructional design.